Namaskar friends. Today we would be learning how to diagnose our dosha. By dosha I mean the tridosh, Vat, Pitta and Kapha. Now just like in allopathy, in Ayurveda the biggest hurdle is not the treatment of the condition, it's diagnosing the right condition. Just like in allopathy, you have lab work, blood work, radiology, x-rays, ultrasound, CAT scans, MRI. In Ayurveda, you can do a good analysis of the symptoms, what the patient complains of, signs, what the physician sees. Together, symptoms and signs are called clinical features, and a basic understanding of the Mahabhuts. The Panch Mahabhuts, Bhumi, Rapu, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, which is the earth, water, fire, air and ether. So there are three doshas that are coming from a mixture of the five Mahabhuts. The three doshas are Vata dosh, which is dosha means disturbance, aberration, a discrepancy, a disorder. So dosha of Vat is a disorder of movement, extreme movement or kala. Dosha of Pitta is a dosha of extreme response, response in the form of hyperactivity or allopathy calling it inflammation. And dosha of Kapha is that of congregation, congestion, impaction, accretion, deposition, things not moving around, obstruction. So that will cause increased secretion and blockade of the secretion. So again, Vat is with movement, Pitta is with hyperactivity, inflammation, and Kapha is with congestion, obstruction. Now, let's go back and find the Gurvadi Gunas. I want to mention some terms, and this, once you have familiarized and mastered yourself, these 10 Gurvadi Gunas, you will have a very strong command and control over understanding of the Gunas and the Doshas, and hence the Prakriti of the individual, and hence the Vyadhi or the disease. Jam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Vyadhi is one of the sufferings that has been mentioned by Krishna as the sufferings of life, along with birth, death, old age, disease, Vyadhi. So let's see Vyadhi, what does it produce in terms of Vriddhis or symptoms. Okay, so going back to the Gurvadi Gunas. So the 10 Gurvadi Gunas, let's first categorize the opposites, are pairs of opposites. Like Krishna says, this duality is responsible for the happiness and the pain. So you have to become sthit pragya, stoic. But today's lecture will be less about the Atman spirituality and more about the manas, indriya, buddhi and the body. So that's why Ayurveda is more to do with the body and mind, which are the parts of Prakriti. Panch Mahabhuts are formed in the Gurvadi Gunas. The 10 Gurvadi Gunas. Let's first mention the most important. 3 of the 10 are the most important, and they are called Upkarmas. So the first one is Guru, which means heavy, difficult to digest. The opposite of Guru will be something which is lightweight and easy to digest. So I will call it Laghu. Okay. The second one is Sheet. Sheet refers to cold. The opposite of Sheet will be Ushna, referring to hot. The third Upkarma is Snigdh. Snigdh refers to the greasy state, the state of easy frictionless movement. Just like grease you use in ball bearings to make the wheels move in the right frictionless movements. So snigdha, the opposite is ruksh. Ruksh refers to dry. Okay, so these three are together called the upkarmas. Now there are more Gurvadi gunas that we need to know, and they are extremely important as well. So let's put some other Gurvadi gunas which may go together or different from these three. Let's come with greasy or snigdha. They have some other terms that are mentioned in Ayurveda. One is soft. By soft, they mean something called mridu. What will be the opposite of soft? It will be tough, hard, what they call kathin. Then there is smooth. Smooth is called slakshana. Slakshana is smooth, and the opposite of smooth is rough. Hence it's called khara. Another one, slimy. This is the extreme level of greasiness that you can go to. Slimy is called pichila. The opposite of pichila, slimy, is vishad or friction. Okay. Then there is about the texture of the surface. The texture is, of course, I said it is rough, but what about the pressure release on that? So whether it is soft, whether it is solid or liquid. So if it is liquid, they will call it dravya. Dravya means fluid. Fluid can be both air and water. And sandra is solid state. Okay. Then there is movement related. Movement extreme is called kala, and when some things don't move, they remain stable, they are called sthira. Now, you can vacillate back and forth. That range of movement is determining kala, flight of ideas, right? Whereas sthira is stoic, just sthit pragya, doesn't get altered by the condition of the surroundings. That is sthira. But what about the rate of change of movement? When you are moving from point A to point B, do you move rapidly, acceleration, or do you move slowly, steadily? So that is called tikshna, fast. And the opposite of tikshna is mand. Then how does it appear on the surface? On the surface, the appearance can be subtle, which is called sukshma, very much similar to sukshma sharir, or sthul, which is gross. So let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these 10 are the Gurvadi gunas. Now let's play with these Gurvadi gunas to see if we can understand the nature of the 5 Mahabhuts. Okay, so the 5 Panch Mahabhut, Bhumi, Rapo, Nano, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Revcha, Ahankar, Iti, Mein, Bhinna, Prakriti, Rasdha, Aparimitis, Vanya, Prakriti, Viddhime, Param, Jivuta, Mahabho, Yedam, Dharete, Jagat. So the 5, there's a lower Prakriti and a higher Prakriti. The lower Prakriti is the body, Bhumi, Rapo, Nano, Vayu, the Mahabhut. The higher Prakriti is Man, Buddhi, Aham. So all those are not you, but all those are composed of some form of movements of this Gurvadi Guna Mahabhuts. Let's see. So I should say that the lower Prakriti has given rise to the higher Prakriti. The Mahabhut itself is distilled to form the mind, the intellect, and the arrogance or the ego. Okay. So let's see, we were talking about the 5 Mahabhut. So let's go from the most subtle to the most gross ones. From the Sukshma, let's go to the Sthul. The lowest one is, of course, Akash. Akash or ether refers to, it has two qualities. It has the quality of Vishad, which refers to friction, and it has quality of Sukshma, which refers to subtle. So I'm just putting acronyms there, but you know what these are from the words here, okay? Akash, what is more grosser than Akash? Next level, air, Vayu. And that is why Vat is coming from Vayu. So Vayu. What are the qualities of Vayu? Of course, it is coming from this. From the subtle gives rise to the gross element. So it has V and S, but also it moves around a lot. Hence, it is Kal, moves around a lot and it is dry. That is why it is Kal. Also, it is light in terms of weight, levity. That is why we call it Laghu. And you can call it Khara or rough. So, those 6 are the qualities of Vayu. Now come to the next transformation, which is kind of in between the 5, as we call it Agni. Agni in the Mahabhut refers to the transformation or Tejas. I will give you one word for all these 5, but in terms of the Gurvadi Gunas, Agni is Ushna or hot, Tikshna, fast, Laghu, levitated, light, easy to digest, and Dravya, fluid, plasma state. Remember, fire is not solid liquid gas, it is plasma state in our mention. But in Ayurveda they mean Dravya, so that is not solid, that is Dravya, fluid. Okay, so that is Agni. The next one, more gross than Agni, is Apa. Or Jal or Pani, that has more qualities that are transgressing away from these qualities, right? So instead of Ushna, water has a tendency which is Sheet. Okay? Instead of Tikshna, which is fast, it has a tendency which is Man, slow. Laghu is light, it is heavy, Guru. Dravya, yes, it is also Dravya. So these 4 we know. But with water comes the tendency of the S's. So all the S's, soft, smooth, greasy, and slimy. So things like Mridu, Slakshana, Dravya, and Sheet. These are tendencies. Pichila, Slakshana, and Snigdha. Most commonly they use the word Snigdha because Snigdha means greasy, and when you think of Snigdha, you should think of Slakshana, and if it is too much of Slakshana, it is Pichila. Too slimy, right? Like slips the moment you touch it. Similar to like ice, you slip, you skid. Okay, the last one is of course Bhu, Prithvi, and that one has again the most gross qualities in terms of physical strength and magnanimity. So this one is, instead of Sukshma, this is Thul. Okay? Then it is Mand. It is also slow, slowly moving because it is big. It is Sthira. Okay? It is Thul and Sthir. Sthir is one of the qualities of Sattvic food, by the way. We'll come to it, other ones. Snigdha is another one. Sthul and Snigdha. But we'll come to that. So Sthul, Man, Sthir, And what about the consistency? It is cutting, which means it is tough surface. These are the main ones. Now some ones you will see, like Agni, they don't mention it as Sukshma or Sthul, because it is transforming from the Sukshmas to the Sthul ones. Similarly, you will see some differences here and there in terms of the nature, but these are the Gurvadi Gunas. Now, these Gurvadi Gunas will combine to form what we call the doshas. Okay, so you see how it is working? Gurvadi Gunas are put together in the Mahabhut. The Mahabhut is put together in the dosha. So these two are the zone of Bhu and Up. This is the zone of Kapha. Okay. So whenever two opposites will work, one of them will have to give up if they are opposites working together. Let's see the example. Water is more dravya, which is fluid, and Bhu is more of the sthira, solid, or sandra, as I said. Sandra is solid, right? So the kapha tendency, because it has more of earth than water, the tendency is to be more sticky, like mud. Okay. So kapha, what are the major tendencies in kapha? Let's try to get some of them together. So kapha, because both of them are guru, water and earth, kapha is guru or heavy. Kapha is also manda. You see mand and mand? So it is mand, which means it has slow metabolism, slow to change. It will resist the change, and it's also very hard to break it because it is more sthul. The sthul coming from, of course, the bhu, so it has a big macroscopic structure, okay? So that's why the big body. So I will put sthul also here. These are the natures of kapha, and the last one is snigdha, and all the things that go with snigdha, you know that. Slakshna, pichla, snigdha, which is greasy. So it is heavy, it is slow to change, it is macroscopic, big body structure, and it is also greasy, smooth. Okay. Now those are the main for kapha. When Up and Agni come and they take a little bit of Vayu also with them, then this region is the region of kapha. Most people will think, kapha. I am saying kapha. Most people, this is the region of pitta. Most people don't recognize that pitta also has a minute quality of Vayu. That is a big mistake. If you don't understand that pitta is a middle portion, so it has to be in the middle of the 5 Mahabhuts. It has to have a little quantity of Vayu and a little quantity of Api, although Api is more than Vayu. And the predominance of Agni, everybody knows Agni hai. Okay, so what are the qualities? You can again see it from here. Because Agni is predominant, Pitta, the predominant quality is Ushna. Okay, Ushna is hot. Pitta is also Tikshna, which is rapid. The Tikshna or the rapid again comes from Agni. Now, Pitta is also Laghu. So you see how it is overriding the Api part or the water part. Water was supposed to be Guru, but because Agni is Laghu, Vayu is Laghu, the predominant winner is Laghu. Okay? And because there is some up, you have to give up something to it, right? So there is some dravya quality to it. Dravya means fluid, right? So dravya. So these are the main ones if you think about Agni. It is not, this one was Sheet, this is Ushna. This one, Kapha was more, I should say, cold, whereas Agni is more hot. That makes sense. That's why Ayurveda is so amazing. You have some of the things you can just intuitively know. The last one is, of course, Vayu or Vat, I should say, the combination of Vayu and Akash. More Vayu than Akash. And again, it's very easy. You can see that the quality is just the opposite of Pichila, slimy. What is that quality? That is Vishad, friction. So Vishad happens with Vat, friction will happen. We'll come to the diseases that happen from that. And then also it is Sukshma, very subtle, very hard to find out. Keep doing MRIs, you will never find the microscopic air bubbles that they are talking about. So it is subtle or Sukshma. Okay. But the more important part are the attributes of Vayu, which is Ruksha, dry. So Vat is very dry skin and other things too, dry. And it is Khara, which is rough. Okay. So these are very important to understand. Now, since they are dosha, disturbance, aberration, you have to negate them by correction. So just by this picture you can tell a person who has more of this Ruksha and the Khara of the Vayu needs a little bit of the Snigdha and Pichila and Slakshana of the Kapha. Anything that can provide water based things. I will come to that, but this lecture is more about diagnosing your dosha. So I will help you understand how to find out what is the predominant dosha in you. It could be Vat, Pit or Kapha, or it could be a combination of two, Vat, Pit, Pit, Kapha, Vat, Kapha, or it could be Tridosh, Sammishra, Vat, Pit and Kapha, all three. So this in short is Guruvati Gunas, the 10 cardinal opposite dualities, and they are put together in the body as the Panch Mahabhuts and as the mind as the Manas, I should say, more as a distillate of the Mahabhuts. But Manas is also affected, because what is Manas? Manas is your direct paleocortex or the primitive brain that suddenly reacts to sensory impulses like food, oh let's eat it, girls let's embrace it. So any object of sensual gratification, let's get it while we can get it. That animalistic creature behavior comes from Manas, which is a distilled form, Manas. You will think about as the vritti and the sanskaras, right? So these vrittis waves, as we were talking in the other lecture of Manas, Buddhi, Ahankar, Chitta, these vritti waves or the spontaneous bubbling ideas are the Manas. So Manas will also be affected. That's why we say the food you eat will affect your thoughts, will affect your emotions, because you have to be very careful what your dosha is and try to block that dosha so that you can create equanimity, and then you can eat the sattvic food. Okay, so before we go on to let's first understand here that every individual can also change their body constitution depending upon Dincharya and Ritucharya. Dincharya means time of the day, like Brahma Muhurta 3 to 7 am, 3 to 7 pm also. Vayu is predominant. These elements will be more acting in your body. And then you think about 11 to 3, whether am or pm, those times digestion Agni needs to be there. So that's why fire and api and little bit of Vayu will be there. Whereas Kapha time is 7 am to 11 pm. Sorry, 7 am to 11 am, 7 pm to 11 pm. Everything is 4-hour breaks occurring 2 times in a 24-hour cycle. Similarly, if you think about the seasons, the Grishma and the Vasant, or the spring and the summer, are time of more of the fire. Whereas you think about more of the Varsha Ritu, that is more the time of the Api, Pani. So that is combining with the Kapha or the Bhu, I should say. So Kapha time is more of the Varsha Ritu in India, and the Grishma and the Vasant will be more like the time of Pitta, and the Sharad, Hemant, Shishir, dry, cold, those are the months of Vayu, Vat. So remember that. Ritucharya, Dincharya affects your primary dosha. Your primary dosha is also changing with time. When you are a kid, you are a Kapha. When you became 20 to 40-year-old, Pitta, like me, middle age. And then when you grow older adults, 65 and older, they're slowly going towards Vat, degenerative disorders. Remember the cardinal words. Vat is movement, Pit is hyperactivity, and Tamas, Kapha is inertia. Don't try to directly correlate the dosha with the guna. So Vat is not sattva, Pitta is not only rajas, it also has a component tamas, and kapha is not only tamas, it also has a component of rajas in it. So that's why the dosha and the dosha and the gunas do not directly relate to each other. They are the sattvic food that everybody should eat, regardless of whether they are vat, pitta or kapha. But in the disease deranged state, they have to eat certain kinds of food, either rajasic or tamasic or sattvic, to help gain back their health. Okay, so now the next role is, I want to keep all this information here because then only we can abstract that information to understand what vriddhi or symptoms and what signs a person can have. So the rest of the stuff I will be just vocalizing. Let's see. What are the symptoms? We'll talk about 4 basic cardinal characteristics to diagnose your dosha. At least I can write those 4. The first is vriddhi. Vriddhi means increase, but vriddhi here means what are the symptoms. Okay. Then the second one is Agni. Agni is what is the catabolic fire that is helping you digest. Fire of digestion. Okay. Fire of digestion. Okay. And then when you digest things, there will be some leftovers. That is called mala or the excretion, right? So that is the excretion. And these are the 3 things that affect the body. But also you have to remember that manas, indriya, distillate is there. So we will also use manas, the state of the mind, to help us diagnose, lower mind I will call it. State of the mind to diagnose your dosha. So we will be basing our diagnosis of the body dosha, mind dosha, our dosha in this life based on these 4. Now how do we get that? Based on our karmas. I will not go there. It is a spiritual topic. Today we are talking about diagnosing our dosha. Okay. So top to bottom, I will keep it very simple so you can understand how to distinguish these 3. We will do vat first, then pitta, then kapha, going from the sukshma, subtle, to the gross, sthul. Let's talk about vriddhi, symptoms. If you are in the state of health, in any ritucharya or dincharya, time of the season, time of the day, if you feel uncomfortable, discomfortable, diseased, anything that is making you remember that life is full of suffering and misery, that is the time your dosha has been deranged. So just think about being normal and not being normal later. So when you're not normal, try to figure out the time of the day and the season of the year, because those two will help you know what dosha from the universe is trying to mess up your internal doshas. Okay, so what symptoms are you presenting? Let's do from head to toe all the systems. The head in Vayu, I'm talking only about Vayu right now. Think about, I'm talking about all 3, system by system. So Vayu, Vat, Pitta, Kapha, systems, vriddhis. So what vriddhi or symptom a person with Vat dosh aggravation, and dosha we generally mean derangement but increase for most purposes here. So vriddhi or increase in the Vat dosha will cause headaches. The headaches are occurring because of migraine kind of headaches, what we call in allopathy the pulsatile vasodilation. So there is dilation of the blood vessels, and that, you know, nitric oxide can dilate a blood vessel, but in pathologic conditions this pulsatile dilatation is happening because of a kind of a cramping in the peripheral vascular smooth muscles, and that cramping, irregular movement is characteristic of Vat dosh. Movement, erratic movement, whether you have the dysmenorrhea or the erratic movement of the blood vessels in the head. So Vat is the migraine kind of headaches that you get certain times of the day, certain stimuli will cause it because the erratic movements are occurring, and sometimes microscopic air is there. The Pitta person, they will get more the headaches that are caused by some sort of inflammation, whether infection or irritation. It is a inflammation. What is characteristic of inflammation? Allopathy teaches me that inflammation has 4 cardinal characteristics. rubor or redness, calor or heat, dolor or pain, and tumor or swelling. Rubor, calor, dolor, tumor, function, lesio, loss of function. If these four present for a long time, function, lesio, loss of function occurs. That's why you do not want to remain in a hyperactive, pro-inflammatory state for a long period of time, because chronic inflammation sets in and that will muck up all the body systems. So let's talk about pitta headaches. The pitta headaches are the headaches of inflammation. So think about things like you could have encephalitis, meningitis. Sometimes there can be headaches of even like subarachnoid hemorrhage, where the bleeding is occurring in the brain, right? So those can be sometimes dangerous. I'm not trying to say there cannot be trivial reasons, but you have to be aware that you will have some systemic signs like fever in addition to that. Vata is more lagu, so it's not able to write up a fever most of the time. That's why migraines don't have fever. But if you have a cough or a cold, then you will have sometimes a fever, because the pitta has been involved in that. Okay. That is pitta headache. The third one is, of course, the congestion headache. So think about blocking of the sinuses, what we call sinusitis. Although there is inflammation, because pitta is also coming in, there is more problem of congestion, blockage of the mucus, whether it is in the maxillary sinus, frontal sinus, whether you are having a blockade of other tracts inside the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Anytime the blood is not flowing very well, so that can also be dangerous. So that's why a lot of time the headaches of the pitta and kapha are hard to distinguish, but vata is very easy to distinguish. Vata doesn't have systemic signs. There's a periodicity to the headache. There will be like cluster headaches, and there will be more a problem of increase in the akash and the vayu tattva. The second system I want to talk about is your, of course, mouth. Vata is ruksha and it is khara. That's why a dry mouth, dental caries happen in vata. Whereas in pitta, there's more inflammation and halitosis also because of increased acid production. Whereas in kapha, there is too much of secretion, what we call sialoria, too much of salivation can happen. So it generally doesn't cause problems. But you think of the breath, the vata people have an astringent breath, whereas the pitta people have more of a sour breath, whereas the kapha people have more of a sweet, fruity odor. Come to the next system. The system of the respiratory tract. Respiratory tract, the vata is going to cause more of problems with air trapping. So you can think about things like asthma, because of bronchospasm, again the erratic contraction of the bronchial muscles, it's not contracting very well. So bronchospasm, asthma, wheezing, those kind of things. Pitta cause more inflammatory conditions like pneumonia. You have an infection, that's why everything is riled up. Systemic symptoms will be there, fever. Blood pressure might change, and also there will be sometimes hemoptysis, which is blood in the sputum. But pitta is more about inflammation. So any inflammatory condition you can think of, that is pitta. And if you think about kapha, kapha is about congestion. So there has to be a lot of phlegm production. Profuse, snigdha, pichla, slimy, slakshna, smooth. All those things have to come out. That is why, unless you are drying it with vata, you don't have dry cough. Dry cough is a symptom of excess vata. Phlegm production excess is a symptom of kapha. And everything in between is of course pitta, because to have symptoms you have to have some degree of pitta. Okay, so the kapha respiratory conditions can be things like pulmonary edema, which is collection of fluid in the alveoli, as can happen in a congestive heart failure. It's not pumping very well. Or it can be things like pleurisy, or the inflammation or swelling, I should say. More of the pleurisy can be more pitta as well, but more of the collection of fluid in the lining of the lungs, pleural fluid, okay, that can be there. Or even things of expectoration. You can think about COPD exacerbation or bronchiectasis. So those kind of diseases, chronic congestive diseases, even congestive heart failure, are conditions caused by pitta, kapha, or congestion obstruction caused by kapha, COPD and bronchiectasis primarily. Now come to the come to the heart. Well, the heart in case of vata, you have to know that it's not going to contract very well. So irregular heart problems can be problems of vayu, such as atrial fibrillation. You know that old age people get a lot of congestive heart failure and atrial fibrillation. Congestive heart failure is weakness of the muscle, and atrial fibrillation the irregular contraction of the muscle. Both are problems of vayu or movement. That's why those two are the main vayu vata problems creating heart problems. whether you call it congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, atrial fibrillation. In case of Pitta, again I'm thinking more inflammation. So things like myocarditis, if you have a viral infection, any other inflammation if you have, then that can cause more about that kind of problem. Then there's Kapha. Kapha is more about congestion. So again, you can think about congestive heart failure, which can start with cardiomyopathy or weakness of the muscles, but eventually there's backflow of blood. So the valvular regurgitation, whether it is mitral or aortic, or you are thinking about the backflow causing the congestive heart failure, and then the coughing of the phlegm, blood-streaked sputum happening in mitral stenosis, all those valvular heart problems, they can be occurring from that. Rheumatic fever that used to happen in old age is again infection, so I would think more about Pitta. Okay, now come to the belly. Very important because Agni comes in the belly. So Vayu, again it's erratic absorption. Sometimes you have good absorption, sometimes you have bad, but in general you are Laghu, so the digestibility is compromised in case of Vata. Also, because there is no digestion, there can be fermentation by the bacteria. There is increased production of the Vata. The Vata was there already. The bacteria, the microbiome is not able to break down the food that you are eating. You have the wrong kind of microbiome. So that's why there is increased Vata. That is causing more flatus and bloating, dyspepsia, not able to digest the food. And hence, when you are going for the stools will be like rabbit stools. I should say very hard, tough pellets. Whereas if you think about Pitta, Pitta has a very strong digestion because the Agni is making it Ushna and Tikshna. Ushna meaning hot, Tikshna means rapid. So they have like a voracious hunger, eating all the food and then hungry again in 2 hours. So very strong digestion, but the caveat is they have a lot of acid production. So this hypersecretory condition can lead to ulceration, reflux, and when it comes up, it can cause this halitosis or the bad sour breath in your mouth. Also, if it goes down, the increased secretory state is also responsible for diarrhea. And if the inflammation is there, sometimes there can be blood in the stools. So watery, loose diarrhea, not well-formed stools, that you are thinking with streaked with blood sometimes, that is sounding like either dysentery or the activation of the hyperactivity of the Pitta dosh. In Kapha, you have more formation of mucoid, mridu or soft, slimy stools. The digestion is kind of Mandagni, what we call Mandagni means slow Agni. This Jathar Agni or the Amashya, the digestibility, catabolic energy in the body is depicted by fire. It's not real fire burning there. It just means metaphorically that this digestive ability to transform is the Tejas of Agni. Okay, so in Kapha the Tejas is low, it is Mandagni, slow digestion. But your general nature is Guru, which means that you are well built, sturdy, and you tend to eat sturdy foods. The problem is, if your Kapha dosha is increased, you cannot digest the food very well. So again, you can have dyspepsia, you can have weight gain problems, you can also have constipation. But the major problem, because obstruction, right? Things are not moving through. Constipation, belly, distension, obesity, those kind of things can happen. Now, but the stools are mucoid here. The stools in Kapha will be mucoid and soft. Whereas in Pitta, the stool will be more watery, diarrhea-like, sometimes streaked with blood, and burning sensation is there. Hyperinflammation, burning is the hallmark. Itching, burning is the hallmark of Pitta. Pain is the hallmark most of the times in Vata. And of course, congestion is the hallmark in Kapha. Okay, urinary symptoms you want to know? We think about malas. So the malas will be, of course, mal and mutra. Mutra, urine, when you think about, Vata will have more brown urine and infrequent urination. Kapha will have more, I should say Pitta will have more frequent urination, but they can sometimes be burning with the urination or blood in the urine. Whereas the Kapha people, they will have more, I should say large quantity of urination at one time, but they don't have very frequent urination. And the urine is more clear. Brown in Vata, yellow in Pitta, and white, colorless I should say, in Kapha. Think about sweat. Vata people have a terrible time sweating. They are dry, ruksh and vishad, the friction. There is no sweat. Whether you are working, a hard working guy is still not sweating. That should be one of your main reasons to understand that the Vata has increased. You are not sweating no matter how hard you are working out. The Pitta people will have profuse sweating because Ushna and Tikshna, the fire keeps burning, and that's why the up is there, the api, provides the water component. So they are very rapid movers, they break a lot of calories and they release a lot of water. Hence perspiration is profuse and sometimes it will be malodorous because of the acid, sour tendency of the pitta from the acid. But they are profuse sweaters. And the third one is of course the mediocre sweaters. You think about people with kapha. They will sweat when they work, but again they are poor metabolism, so sweating is on the lower side. Least sweating happens with Vata people. Okay, last is you can think about the phlegm. The phlegm in Vata people will be dry, so these guys more have dry cough. They will produce only small scant amount of phlegm. The Pitta people, when the inflammation increases, they will produce more phlegm than what the Vata will produce. But in general, it can also have some inflammatory connotations like blood in the sputum or fever, other symptoms associated. Kapha people have profuse because they are pichila and snigdh. They are soft, also mridu, but they will produce easy expectoration of copious amount of sputum. That is the tendency of kapha. Okay, so we are done with the vriddhi or the symptoms. I told you about the mala, excretion. I told you about the agni as well. Now talk about the manas. The Vata people, as you can imagine, full of akash and vayu, chanchalam himana krishpamati bharadam tanyam nigram mane vayu sudushkaram. Hey Krishna, mind is so rapid moving like Vata or Vayu. He even says there in Bhagavad Gita that the mind is so unstable and kala, which is movement, that it is hard to control it. And then Prabhu says, Asanchayami mahabaho mano dunargimchalam abhyasentu konten vairagyen chagrihate. So you can control it with abhyas, perseverance and vairagya detachment. But what I meant to say is that Vata, the mind is hyper stimulated, hyper vigilant. So the tendencies, I try to think about Vata as a mice. Look at a mice, always running around. It cannot sit and meditate in one place. Have you ever seen a mouse meditate? Never. Because it is so active, it will run left, right, always scared of the cats and trying to find cheese. So man is like mouse in the Vata dosha, in the deranged state. In that state, it is anxious, fearful, paranoid. It is a sense of impending doom. And when it is stable in the good state, of course, it becomes relaxed and creative. The best creative minds are the people with equanimity of the manas, the man in sattva. Now think about the man of pitta. These are people who are hyper irritable, annoyed when the pitta increases. They are like, why are you talking to me? They get upset when you have loud noise or bright light, any sensory stimuli that they are not pleasing to themselves. They will get extremely upset, agitated, karmajan, whimsical, temperamental. All these individuals are very hard to predict. Sometimes they will be very happy and suddenly 2 minutes later they are upset. So you know that pitta is deranged in these individuals in the mana state. Not always what is deranged in the mana state will show up in the body. So you have to, that's why, diagnose yourself using all those 4 vriddhi, agni, mal and manas to know your body type, or I should say the dosha type. Okay, so pitta is irritable, annoyed, gets easily annoyed and temperamental. But when it is in sattva balance, pitta becomes the fire of energy of ambition. They are the people whose solar chakra is extremely is active. They are the people whose pingla is extremely active. So they are ambitious people who will make things happen. They will break the cycle of Kali Yuga. They will put an end to the miseries. They are the people who will rock the world out of the misery of tamas using the fire of rajas. So once they have found the right purpose, in sattvic state, rajas will create rapid, strong transformation. That's why these people are extremely courageous and ambitious. Those 2 words define courage and ambition. Just like relax and creativity defines the activation of sattvic ida, in case of Vata, the courage and ambition determines and denotes the sattvic state of the pitta. Third is kapha. Kapha is more tag-along kind of individuals, so they are easy to go, happy people, you know. But when they are upset, they can get upset, just like any dosha. They will be depressed. So you'll see a lot of seclusion, withdrawal, social isolation. social distancing going on instead of even when there's no COVID. That kind of tendency when you see, you know that it is kapha. Kapha people are very good people. They are usually not going to have outbursts like pitta has, and they will of course have some component of anxiety because vata is there, but mostly they are despondent, depressed, paucity of speech, not enjoying the sensual pleasure. Otherwise, they are extremely lovers of enjoying good music, good food. They will love. But when they go in depression mode, you know how anhedonia happens. You have decrease of sleep, appetite, and also weight loss can happen in kapha during that time. But it is again unhealthy weight loss, unintentional weight loss because of despondency or depression. So depression is the state of derangement of manas in kapha. But when they are in the equilibrium of sattva, kapha people are great followers. They are loyal people, and they are people you can count on, trustworthy. So loyalty and trustworthy is the state of mind. It's a submission state also. That's why bhakti yoga, they are the champions, the kapha people in sattva. And similarly pranayam, the intake outgoing of air, that is the champion is pitta. And dhyan, that is personality of Godhead, visualization, all those things the vata. So in terms of yoga, if you are in equilibrium of vata, you should do dhyan yoga. If you are in equilibrium of pitta, you should do pranayama. And if you are in the equilibrium of kapha, you should do chanting bhakti yoga, because sensual pleasures drive you. So things like prasadam, giving to the food and then eating, or playing, chanting bhajan, melodious music all day long, that is kapha. So this all makes sense. That is the beauty of Ayurveda. You can conceptualize and understand everything once you understand the 10 Gurvadi gunas, how they affect the Mahabhuts, how they congregate to form your doshas, and how those doshas are affected by the qualities of the gunas. Okay, so I think I have covered everything that I wanted to talk to you about diagnosing your dosha. And the earlier lecture that we made yesterday, we talked about what foods to eat and avoid in those doshas. So I think that is the easier part, to know what to eat and what to avoid. But this is the more complicated part, because even your dosha will morph over time, during the time of the day, the place you are living, the season you are living. So very important to understand what dosha you have. So to sum you up, my friends, there are 3 upkarmas that help determine your dosha on a broad scale. The upkarmas represent laghu and guru. Laghu is light, guru is heavy. Laghu is easy to digest, guru is difficult to digest. Sheet and ushna. Sheet meaning cold and ushna meaning hot. Ruksh and snigd. Ruksh meaning rough and snigd meaning greasy. Of course, there are other 7 as well, things based on soft, mridu, smooth, slakshna, and pichila or slimy, and the opposite will be of course things like vishad or friction, and khara or rough, and ruksh or dry, we already mentioned. So those are the basic ones, and they will congregate to form different kinds of doshas. And we have to know that most individuals will not be clear cut, oh, I am kapha dosha and he's pitta dosha. No, they will be a mixture, and that's what makes it hard. But once you use the cardinal symptoms in vriddhi, the fire of Agni, the excretion quality signs of mala, wastes, and the state of the lower mind or manas, you will be promptly able to diagnose whether that individual is having a predominance of vata, a predominance of pitta, a predominance of kapha. And also when you know when there is a predominance of vata, you can figure out whether there is a predominance of the friction, vishad, or there is more of the dryness and sheath of vayu. You can figure out whether there is more of ushna and tikshna of the agni, or there is more snigdha of the api in case of pitta. You can figure out in kapha if there is more of the sthira, stability of the bhu, or there is more the snigdha pichla of the water in kapha. That will help you understand what the diagnosis is. And let me end my lecture with 3 beautiful shlokas that Bhagavad Gita tells us about food. Those are the only 3 shlokas mentioned in Bhagavad Gita about food in the chapter 17, shlokas 8, 9, 10, in which God talks about the kind of sattvic, rajasic and tamasic food. So he talks about आयु सत्व बला रोग्य सुख प्रीति विवर्धना रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृदय आहारा सात्विक परा कटु अम लवण्यति उष्ण तीक्ष्ण रुक्ष विदाहिना आहारा रजस्यष्ट दुख शोक अवय प्रदा या त्यामम गत्र संपुति परिशिष्टम च उच्चिष्टम विचामिद्यम भोजनम ताम संप्रियम. So it talks about the quality of the food in sattva, rajas and tamas. Ayu sattva balarogya sukh priti vivardhana, things that are going to create longevity and tripti, peacefulness, satiety in your mind, they are the sattvic foods. Ayu sattva balarogya sukh priti vivardhana, rasaya snigdha sthira hridaya. Now you know the answer. Rasya is juicy, rasa forms the first dhatu of your body, right? So kapha tendency. If you have food that is kaphagenic, that's a good food. Rasya snigdha. Snigdha again is the quality of water. Okay, snigdha is greasy. Rasya snigdha sthira. Sthira is quality of bhu, prithvi, stable, grounding, and hridaya, pleasing to the heart. Succulent, juicy, greasy, smooth, solid foods that are pleasing to the heart are sattvic food. Now you know what kind of food to eat. Forget the property of the food that you read in Ayurveda. If those things feel right to you, when you look at the food, succulent, juicy, and not sheath. He did not talk about sheath, cold. He talked about succulent, juicy, greasy, and sthira, and hridaya, pleasing, stable and pleasing. Rajas, he talks about katu, amla, lavanya, ati, ushna, tishna, rukshna, vidayana. How much easier can it get than this? Katu is bitter, amla, sour, katu, lavanya, salty, katu, lavanya, ati, ushna, tishna, rukshna, vidayana. Ushna, Tikshna, Rukshna, Vidahina, hot, fast, the rapidity of movement. Ruksh, dry, Vidahina. Ahara, rasista, dukh, shok, ameprada. That ahar is rajasic and leads to dukh and shok. Dukh is pain, shok is grief. So those kind of things you'll get. What does rajas do? First you will feel very good. Oh, let's eat hot, spicy, chili, pungent, acid, bitter foods. But in the long run it will cause damage if you are healthy then. The third one is tamas. Yat yamam gatra samputi parichitam chat uchistamay chamvidyam bhojam tam sampriyam. Yat yamam, stale. Gatrasam, devoid of any rasa. He said rasa food is sattva, devoid of rasa. So you can think about dried food also, ruksha, you know. So yat yamam gatrasam puti, putrefied. Fermented food also he doesn't like. He thinks it's tamasic. Yat yamam gatrasam puti parishitam. Parishitam is polluted. What example is he talking about? He's talking about Kali. All these polluted foods we are eating from, the salmon you are eating and the fish has large quantities of mercury, and you are eating all these animals that are eating all these pollutants that are there in the soil and the water. So we are also bioconcentration getting it. They are tamasic foods. So all the stale, fermented, putrefied, leftover foods are tamasic foods. Now the problem is, he's talking about state of health. To restore the state of health, avoid the rasic and the tamasic. When you're in the state of health, you can remember that you are in the state of equilibrium in the doshas. Okay, that is very rare for us. We tend to deviate one way or the other, especially in today's age. Are you kidding me? All the processed foods, refrigerated foods, and convenient microwave foods. All the foods he asked us not to eat, we are eating day in, day out. We are so lazy we cannot cook the food. He has asked us to cook the food and eat it within 3 hours. We are eating it for 3 days. And then we break out into hives like I do. So this is the problem. We have to know that when we are in the state of purity, to gain samadhi, dhyana, the elevated realms of Ashtanga Yoga, you need the sattvic food. Ayu sattva balarogya sukh priti viradhana rasaya snigdha sthira hridaya. Pleasing, succulent, juicy, and stable, grounding foods. But when you are in the disease state, only poison kills poison. So if you are too much of kaphagenic state, then you might need some rajas food, because rajas fire will liquefy the consolidated kapha. Kapha is not moving, it's congregated, congested, impacted. So you have to break it with acid, break it with alkali, katu, amla, lavanya. All those things which were poison suddenly becomes your medicine. So food becomes your medicine. Kapha sometimes needs rajas. And then rajas, too much of fire, ushna, too much of ushna is there. So you want to create some sheath. The better sheath is of course to bring the sheath of kapha through succulent, juicy, watery. But also you can use some of the sheath of the vayu and vat. Similarly, vat, when you think, vat is too much of dry. So what it talks about, there is lack of any rasa in the body. So that will do better with more of up, snigdha, pichla, slakshna, mridu, all those qualities will tend to make you more softer. Because what happens to Vata people? You think about it, dry skin, dry hair, itching all the time, hair falling, bloating, dry cough, brown urine, hard pellets of stool, weight loss, emaciated, lethargic. That is your Vata. What is happening to Pitta? All the time inflamed, red, itchy, and coughing, and having high fever, and then they are burning sensation, burning in the belly, dyspepsia, burning with urination, and always in the state of go and getting irritated. And what happens in Kapha? Constipated, slow, despondent, congested, large quantities of phlegm, mucousy stools. All these things are happening. So you have to know that there cannot be a silver bullet answer that, oh, I have too much of Kapha, I will do Rajasic foods. I have too much of Vata, I will do more of the Snigdha, Slakshna, Pichla foods. That is where the distinction gets. But if you know your Vriddhi, Agni, Mal and Manas, you would be able to diagnose your dosha based on these 10 Guruvadi Gunas. Hope you like this lecture. Thank you.